One of those resources is energy. How? Because it's much easier to recycle paper from waste materials than to have to cut down trees, process the wood, and eventually make the paper. Flooding seems to be affecting everyone. I'm standing here at one of the busiest intersections of the city where water has pretty much taken over, leaving traffic backed up for miles. Nick, there's nothing like having a house next to the water. At times it could be absolutely relaxing as you take a look at the Souris River behind me. But unfortunately for many residents in Mouse River Park, their home is not necessarily next to the river, but soon it could be in it. With almost 150 homes affected by this evacuation, walking down the streets of Burlington looks like moving day. With trailers, trucks, open garages, it's really a scene as people do whatever they can to save their homes. Doctors say there are a number of things that parents can do to protect their child from the common cold, which is most likely to strike around this time of year. But the main thing they can do is to make sure that their child is always washing their hands.
This is an uphill fight.
But one Burlington Mayor Jerome Grunberg is not backing down from. Early this evening, Mayor Grunberg addressed his town and answered plenty of questions residents had about the future of their town and their homes.
There are no guarantees, but we'll do everything that we can.
If it's a losing battle, you just gotta get out of the way.
Michael Stein has lived here for 3 years. He and his family got word today of the evacuation, so they began packing up their belongings and are now heading to a friend's house.
I had friends help with that, and we just got everything out of the basement now, so now it's just a matter of clearing out the garage, I guess.
Now there's a good chance that when this river crests, that water that you see there could be up as high as me, which is why homes that are protected by levees are now facing mandatory evacuations.
So we need to move all the stuff out and try to find somewhere to live.
Michael Clark has the Souris River in his backyard, so he and his friends are now packing up his truck and heading to stay at a friend's house up by the air base.
We'll grab what we can. I got a bunch of people coming down from base right now to help.
This week's events are new to everyone, even to Stein's neighbors who have lived here for almost 3 decades.
Paula Bachmeyer across the road here, she got water in her basement yesterday, and she said she's been living there 20-some years and has never even had a sump pump.
At Minot's busiest intersection, a small group of protesters joined what has become a nationwide trend.
This is democracy. This is democracy, to stand up and say, I don't like this.
This small group peacefully assembled at the corner of Burdick and Broadway to let it be known that they aren't happy with the way the corporate world works. Some drivers blew their horns in support, while others made sure to yell and display obscene gestures to the protesters.
It just seems like there's been some negative publicity about this whole process and probably why they're getting honked at and things like that.
One of the common statements yelled, "Get a job," which is the last thing protester Jess O'Connell wants to hear.
They see us as being bums without jobs. I have 2 jobs. I work really, really hard, and I still pay more in taxes than the CEO of Goldman Sachs.
Other protesters who wanted to hide their face and their name aren't just protesting the corporate world of Wall Street. They claim to speak for those in Minot, those who are the victims of an unfair housing situation.
There's no housing, and people are doubling and tripling the rent without notice, and it's not fair to the citizens of this city.
All we're doing is exercising our right as Americans to stand up and say, hey, I don't like this.
This group of young adults may not have the support of everyone, but they hope that what they call the 99% won't be overshadowed anymore. In Minot, Rich Wisniewski, NBC North Dakota News. Yeah, tonight kicks off the 57th annual Wise Rodeo. Cowboys and cowgirls will be taking part along with fierce horses and bulls. Now, one of those horses has taken quite a journey. 2 years ago, veterinarians didn't think it would survive, let alone be able to compete again. But through hard work, determination, and a loving owner, the horse is back. Inside the horses stable at the Wise Men's Rodeo, 15-year-old Dooley is satisfying his hunger by munching on some green grass in the stable. He will be competing this weekend in the rodeo, but it's been a long road to get to this point.
My biggest thing was he never gave up on me. I wasn't giving up on him.
2 years ago, South Dakota native Wendy Hellwig finished competing with Dooley in her home state. She went home that night and woke up the next morning to find Dooley gone. She would later find him rope burnt and cut after being stolen overnight and abused.
It was baby steps for 2 years.
Veterinarians would tell her he wouldn't ever be able to compete again, probably not even ridden, because his tendons were just so banged up.
I was just blessed that I had him at that point.
So the recovery process began. The tendons were healing, and she was able to walk him twice a day for 6 months.
And it was ponying him beside another horse or leading him. I never stopped that. I bought a treadmill, so in the winter when the conditions were bad, we'd put him on the treadmill for 15 minutes.
Eventually, he became strong enough to ride, and in June of this year, Dooley took part in his first competition in 2 years, where he placed 7th. And now at the Wise Men's Rodeo, he and his owner, Wendy, are back.
Probably stronger than before, I would say. And